Hiya, my name's Linda Rose, and welcome back to this adventure. So I'm wearing the same everything as the previous video because I'm literally filming this on the same day. Because if you're gonna do something that sort of scares you and you don't want to do it all at once, and then it's fine. Get it out, get it over, you know? So if you watched my previous video, if you haven't, I would advise that you do go watch it because it sort of gives background to this video and where this video is coming from. So this video is going to be about the emotional impact having PCOS has made on me, and diagnosis, and all of like my PCOS story basically. You don't need to watch the previous video, obviously. I feel like it gives a good basis and a better understanding about what PCOS is and how it affects the physical before we get into how it affects the mental, because it does, and that is also very important. So I don't have notes. What? I'm not gonna be looking at a book. It's amazing. Who is this person? I figured that I would just speak from the heart and say what comes to mind, because that might be best and might be what is needed to be said. So when I was 18 years old, I was diagnosed with PCOS, and the reason I was diagnosed is I had very, very bad symptoms, which is mentioned in the previous video, but like pain, and to the point where I couldn't walk sometimes, and it was bad. And I had really, really heavy periods and missing periods, and then suddenly I would have 2 periods in 1 month, and it was chaotic. And I did start menstruating a little bit late, so my mom and I, we were like, okay, cool, maybe it's just, you know, my body's still trying to work itself out and figure out what's going on, because it's normal. It's completely normal for women in the beginning stages of menstruating to have weird and wild and strange things happen to their body, but not to the point that I was having these bad experiences. And one day I was sent home from school after my period had finished because I was in so much pain, and then my mother decided that it was enough. She was taking me to the gynecologist, and we were going to get answers because it cannot continue. So went for an ultrasound and some blood tests, and the ultrasound, by the way, I don't know if you ever go for an ultrasound, first thing that I tell you, you need a full bladder. I always get scolded because I've got a very, very small bladder, and then they're always like, your bladder's not full enough. You need a full bladder, and then also the gel, it's not cold, warm gel, and then you're like, what is going on? But anyway, so yeah, went for the scan thing, and as there it was, the joyful little spots on both of my ovaries. My left ovary likes hiding away from us, so that was the first and only time we've ever seen my left ovary, was the first time I went to the gynecologist. But basically my ovaries were full of cysts, covered, absolutely covered, and my uterus was way undersized. Like an average normal uterus is between 6.5 and 7 centimeters. Mine was 5. So yeah, and then getting diagnosis was such a mix of relief and fear, because suddenly it's not just something that I'm imagining, I'm not overreacting, I'm not being dramatic, this is something that is actually wrong with my body. But then knowing that there is something wrong with my body and it's not just me overreacting broke me. I asked the doctor if I would be able to have children, and he said at that point, no. Because it was so bad that if I had to try, it wouldn't, not without help. But I am going to be making a whole video on fertility and my thoughts and feelings on that whole thing, because it is a whole thing for me. Yeah. But then coming back to the fact that it very nearly killed me, this diagnosis, because suddenly my body is unable to do the one thing that it was fundamentally designed to do. And I felt so unwomanly and so like my body had deserted me and my body hates me, because it wasn't just PCOS and oh okay cool, you don't ovulate, right? It's all of the symptoms, the hair loss, the skin patches and things that are weird, and the mental health issues that come with it. Damn. Nobody really talks about that, but damn. It's the fact that you can look in the mirror. Now, I have always sort of had problems with my body, and I don't know if this is because of the PCOS or just something that would have happened regardless. I consider myself to have sort of slight body dysmorphia, and my therapist is going to love me saying this because hey, I'm self-diagnosing again. So basically my problem is that I'm not really aware of where I end and where the air begins, but I'm gonna make a video about this too at some point. So having that background of some days absolutely hating my body, looking in the mirror and seeing this disgusting, disfigured thing instead of me, along with the sudden knowledge that this thing is fighting back. This body is saying, oh, okay, so you don't like me. Well, get this. I'm gonna make your life a living hell and give you pain and suffering like you have never experienced before. Because it did. It absolutely did. And the feeling of being slightly broken, because it's not, PCOS isn't something, it's a chronic illness that is invisible to everybody except the person who suffers from it. And a lot of people, they don't truly understand what it's like to have the physical elements of it. It's like, oh, okay, cool, so you have menstrual cramps. That's not that bad. I've got bad cramps, like, but they don't get that it's not the same. I mean, I don't want to say that it's not the same, but it's not, because my body isn't functioning like your body is. And the thought of, you know, just being slightly broken, but not quite broken enough, being that grey area of, I'm not a whole, fully functioning human being, but I'm also not completely broken to the point where I can't function. I can manage, I can survive, but that's all I'm doing is surviving. I'm not thriving. Excuse me while I just quickly have some tea. So, yeah, I felt like such a failure as a woman because my body was unable to do to woman. My ability to, you know, it was taken, it was stolen by heaven only knows what, but it was ripped away from me. And being a child of the internet generation, the first thing I did when I got my diagnosis was come to the internet and Google and check on YouTube, and every single video I found was how I naturally cured my PCOS. And I'm so unbelievably happy for those women now. Now, 3 years on, post-diagnosis, where I've dealt with all of these issues I've had. But I didn't need to hear that back then. I needed somebody to tell me that how I am going to feel, and the fact that it's okay, that it feels like my body has deserted me, and the fact that it feels like my brain has deserted me, and the fact that it sometimes feels like I don't deserve to be happy because of this. It feels like I've done something to deserve being this sort of vaguely cracked person. Because that's a lot of times what it feels like. You just feel very cracked. You don't feel like a bowl that has a crack in it, and it's not broken, but you can't put liquid in it because it will run out. Yeah. I kind of just also needed somebody to tell me that I would survive this. I'm going to grow and learn so much about my body and me as a person, and how blooming strong I am. Because listen, if you've got PCOS, you know that this is not a walk. I mean, it's a walk in the park. Jurassic Park. It's insanely difficult, and there are days that you just feel like giving up and not moving forward, and that's okay. You're allowed that. You are absolutely allowed to stay in bed. Not for 2 months straight, but if you need to lie on your bed and stare at your ceiling for 3 weeks, that's fine. Take that time, but just know that at the end of that, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is strength in being broken. You've got this. And whether it feels like it now or not, this is going to make you a better person. This is going to shape so much of your future and so much of things that you are passionate about. It's going to turn you into a great person, even though you don't want it. You don't want this, because nobody does. Nobody wants to suffer this way. And I've had friends tell me that if they could, they would trade with me. At the drop of a hat, they would trade with me. And I sort of wanted to say no. Not then. Then it was me crying hysterically because I cried a lot. I'm sort of crying now. There will be also crying, speaking of that. Eventually we'll reach a point where you can talk about this without dissolving into a puddle of tears. It will happen. It will absolutely happen. This is the scariest thing you are going to do in your life. But you will do it, and you will make it. You will. Without a doubt, you will. Yeah. So I just once again want to I am gonna watch this video and edit and whatever, and it's gonna be a crazy mess, but I'm uploading this crazy mess, so good luck. Thank you very much for sacrificing your time to watch this. If you have got PCOS, if you don't have PCOS and you would just like to support or any such things, just remember that my comment section, my door is always open, as I said in the last video, which means the comment section, to anybody who wants to support or vent or cry. Got broad shoulders, go for it. Because everybody needs somebody at some point. You are strong, but you don't have to be strong 100% of the time. It's okay to crack and cry and break down and shed a tear. I'll shed one with you. So, yeah. Thank you for watching this ramble. thank you to everybody who supports me and loves me and constantly tells me I'm not broken when I have bad brain days, as I call them. Yeah, thanks. I love you all very much.